morning, Acadiana. It's Monday, February 22nd, 2021, and you're listening to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate. Their team of journalists print the stories important to our community and state, and we are happy to read you some of those stories. You can hear Local News Live Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on AOC 1, the AOC Community Media channel on YouTube, and on Cypress Street Radio at aocinc.org/CS Radio. You can find print versions of these stories and more at theadvocate.com. We couldn't bring you this community service without the generosity of our volunteer newsreaders. Today, I'll be your volunteer newsreader. My name is Matt Roberts. All right, so let's get right into our first story from the Acadiana area. Quote, Lafayette is not this. National headlines put local leaders on hot seat. This story is by Megan Wyatt, a staff writer for The Advocate. Lafayette loves the limelight, at least when it's for food, culture, music, or innovation. But the city seems to be getting national attention for the wrong reasons these days. While still frosted with ice, Lafayette was the topic of a segment on CBS this morning for rejecting a local mask mandate and failing to enforce the state's existing mandate. Earlier this month, Lafayette had a headline in the Washington Post after the city's library board rejected a grant for a voting rights program because of, quote, far-left content. Frankly, it's embarrassing, said Stephen Waters, associate professor of journalism at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. One of the reasons my wife and I moved here is for the culture and the people and everything, but that's being overshadowed by this. It's kind of embarrassing when I talk to my friends elsewhere about Lafayette. This is not what they see. End quote. On Friday, during a live interview with the Washington Post, Governor John Bel Edwards drew more negative attention to what's happening in Lafayette when he called the city council's rejection of a mask mandate a basic failure of leadership. Lafayette Parish Mayor President Josh Guillory shot back in a Saturday statement accusing the governor of being, quote, deeply hypocritical and blaming the Edwards administration for failing to adequately enforce the state's coronavirus orders, including the statewide mask mandate. Quote, from a public relations standpoint, it's clearly pretty negative, but it's also accurate, end quote, said Lauren Overset, associate professor of strategic communication at UL. I mean, these aren't the types of things that you want highlighted for your city. David Begnaud, a Lafayette native and lead national correspondent for CBS News, said he's been flooded with messages about recent news events unfolding in his hometown. A few people criticized the journalist on social media for reporting on the mask controversy because it doesn't depict his hometown in the most flattering light. Quote, they felt like I had embarrassed Lafayette or something, end quote, Begnaud said on Thursday in a phone interview. I thought to myself, would you be saying that to me if I wasn't from Lafayette? Like, don't try and hold me to a different standard just because I'm from Lafayette. This is the news. It's an important story. And the relevancy of it for us was that it was taken up in emergency session a year into the pandemic. That's notable, he said. 2 members of the city council drafted a local mask mandate as an emergency ordinance last month after pressure from a grieving family that says a funeral home wouldn't enforce mask usage. The council rejected the ordinance February 9th with a 3-2 vote along political party lines. Waters, who worked as a journalist in Florida before earning a doctorate and moving to Louisiana, said it's not the national coverage itself that's embarrassing, but the newsworthy happenings themselves. Quote, we're in a heavily polarized and politicized media climate, Waters said, and the local officials will reflect that. They will do this stuff for cheap political points because I would argue they think they're appealing to their constituents, but in reality they're kind of doing the opposite. That's the part that's so embarrassing about it, is that you either have to be cruel or scientifically illiterate to make these sorts of claims. They're ignoring evidence to score some political points, and people notice. It gets attention, and so the media will pick up on it, end quote. Begnaud said he frequently fields requests for coverage from Acadiana residents. Even when he can't report on a topic, Begnaud will often share local reports with his national audience on social media. That's all he initially planned to do when he learned about the city council's proposed mask mandate. A CBS producer encouraged Begnaud to report the story after seeing his regular social media posts on the topic. The CBS crew traveled to Lafayette last week to record the segment, which included video of a maskless people pouring into downtown bars, and the council's rejection of the mask ordinance, along with interviews with a local doctor and the grieving family who pushed for the local mask ordinance. Quote, "I am immensely proud of where I'm from," Begnaud said. "I'm proud of being from Cajun country. I'm proud of not changing my name from Begnaud because it might be hard for people to pronounce. I'm proud of that. But let me tell you something. There are also people who were pleading with me to go to Lafayette and do this story too. And first and foremost, I wanted to be fair. I wanted to be fair, and I believe that the story was fair," end quote. Begnaud has regularly returned to Cajun country to report on a wide array of topics. He's covered breaking news events, including the 2015 movie theater shooting and a 2019 plane crash, along with lighthearted features, such as a 2016 segment on a priest offering mobile confessions and a 2018 one about the surprising connection between a grieving widow and a new mother. "Sometimes I wonder, am I being too Lafayette-centric?" he said. Begnaud said he hesitated before sharing local news reports on social media about what's unfolding at the Lafayette Public Library. He wondered if it was the kind of story that only someone from Lafayette would care about, but his followers eagerly engaged with that story too. Quote, "Social media has amplified the ability for stories that would otherwise not be seen far and wide to be seen far and wide," Begnaud said. "That's just what it is." The library board voted last month to reject a $27,000 grant for books and a presentation about the history of voting rights in America. Board members said during the January 25th meeting that the planned speakers were, quote, "extremely far left," and wouldn't present, quote, "both sides of the issue." The board's decision prompted the library system's longtime director to retire suddenly and UL to announce it would accept the grant money and host the event. The heart of that story is not so different from the council's rejection of the mask ordinance in that both seemingly bipartisan issues became politicized. Public health experts and scientists overwhelmingly agree that masks slow the spread of COVID-19, just as historians overwhelmingly agree that a conversation about voting rights in America should include information about voter suppression. Part of me wants to call them out on it, like, "Okay, let's hear your other side," Waters said. "Everything is politicized, media has a role in that, and we just can't get enough news. We're addicted to it. Everything becomes an issue where you have to fall on one side or the other. Bewildering is the word, especially for the library situation. It's for the public good and public education. Lafayette is not this. There is a reason this is getting attention. It's because so many people are angry about it or just sort of bewildered by it," end quote. After reporting across the country on the front lines of the pandemic for nearly a year, Begnaud said he still has not gotten sick with COVID-19. He credits mask usage, social distancing, and other common coronavirus precautions for the reason he's been healthy. Begnaud said he hopes to lead by example through his reporting in day-to-day life as he follows the recommendations of public health experts and epidemiologists. He remembered the importance of his actions during his recent trip to Lafayette when his 5-year-old niece asked for some alone time to make a COVID-19 mask for her uncle, quote, "since he is so serious about it." Overset, who holds a doctorate in communication and information science, said the Lafayette leaders and residents shouldn't ignore national coverage the city has been getting. Instead, she said, the recent headlines should inspire action. "The issues that they've highlighted are happening. They're truthful," Overset said, "and the fact that they're negative says that our leaders need to take action and turn those negative situations into a positive situation. That's it. That's the only answer for it, to be frank. If there's a problem, find a solution in positive action," end quote. Staff writers Claire Taylor, Ben Myers, and Sam Carlin all contributed to this report. And in our public service announcements for today, from the United Way of Acadiana, it announces its 2021 Pact United Plan of Action for Community Transformation grant applications. They're now open. Organizations are encouraged to apply on their website before February 23rd at midnight, so tomorrow at midnight. Pact United is a competitive, community-wide initiative focused on the United Way of Acadiana's three focus areas of education, earnings, and essentials. Last year, $440,000 was distributed among 28 community programs created and administered by regional nonprofits and educational institutions. Through the program, UWA lifts up local area nonprofits by giving them additional resources for support, growth, and sustainability. United Way of Acadiana's Pact United model provides grants to organizations focused on helping more children graduate from high school, building financial stability in hardworking families, and ensuring that neighbors meet their basic needs. The United Way of Acadiana expects this year's needs to be great in the wake of COVID-19 and encourages organizations who are stepping up during this time to apply. To apply for a Pact United grant or for more information on United Way of Acadiana's work, visit unitedwayofacadiana, all one word, .org, unitedwayofacadiana.org. Continuing on with our Acadiana headlines. Freeze Fund seeks donors. Foundation offers to match contributions. This story is by Ken Stickney. The Stuller Family Foundation has offered to match all donations up to the next $30,000 made to the Acadiana Regional Coalition on Homelessness and Housing's Freeze Fund, which was initiated to house the homeless and nearly homeless people during cold weather. The Stuller Family Foundation was founded in 1994 as a nonprofit organization serving Lafayette and 5 adjacent parishes. Since then, it has given away more than $50 million through matching grants, direct grants, and partnerships and donations, its website says. In a statement issued late Saturday, Lee Rochelle, executive director of Arch, said the match is good for all donations that were made starting February 20th and moving forward for the next $30,000 donated. Money collected will pay retroactively for people affected by last week's weather. Quote, "This freeze clearly illuminated the number of people in Acadiana in need of shelter, and frankly, it surpassed our original estimates," Rochelle said. Our freeze fund, which is utilized during dangerously cold or inclement weather events, is largely funded by the community at large. We are asking today that those who are able please help to cover the cost of keeping our neighbors warm and safe last week. Rochelle said the link to donate is bit.ly, bit.ly/freezefund, or a check may be mailed to P.O. Box 3936, Lafayette, Louisiana 70502. She said all funds received go to cover the cost, about $50 a night, for an individual hotel and motel rooms. She said more than 700 people, adults and children, stayed warm during the recent freeze in hotels and motels because of the fund. Some families stayed in a single room and some roomed two to a room. Elsa Demetriadis, Arch's chief impact strategist, said the foundation told Arch of their intention to match donations Friday night. Quote, "Although we knew there was a real need, we were overwhelmed by the number of unsheltered," she said. "If FEMA or other government agencies pick up the cost of housing people during last week's storm," she said, "money collected and the match will go into the freeze fund for the next weather-related disaster." She said Arch raises about $90,000 of $150,000 needed to pay for hotel rooms. If the agency can raise another $30,000, that and the match would meet the cost for the recent housing effort. Arch worked with partner agencies that included 232 Help and 211, as well as Catholic Charities of Acadiana, Cajun Compassion, Food with Love, the Hub Lafayette Urban Ministries, the Outreach Center, and Second Harvest Food Bank, among many others. Quote, "We are so grateful they reached out to us," Demetriadis said. "We have been honest with the public about the need and numbers. We want people to be a part of that mission." In our next headline, LAGCO may make event decisions in March. COVID-19 altered the landscape for the biennial show. Stories by Ken Stickney. The Louisiana Gulf Coast Oil Exposition may make decisions as early as next month about its scheduled oil and gas industry show this year. Corrine Sprague, interim executive director, said COVID-19 has altered the landscape for the biennial show that started in 1955 in Lafayette and was held there until 2019 when it moved to the Ernest N. Morial Convention Center in New Orleans. The show has been scheduled September 29th through October 1st. Sprague said LAGCO had surveyed members to, quote, "drill down to what our ideal event looks like," end quote. Board members in January also looked over the show's features and began deciding what was attractive and feasible. The LAGCO board will meet March 30th and will likely make some decisions, she said. LAGCO's move to New Orleans followed decline in participation at the Cajun Dome in Lafayette from a record-setting 17,000 people in 2013 to 16,000 in 2015 to about 10,000 in 2017. Other changes included charging admission. Attendance dropped to between 4,000 to 5,000 paying customers in New Orleans. The move gave national and international visitors the opportunity for better flights and more hotel accommodations in New Orleans, organizers said. The show also required paid admission because advertisers and exhibitors believed attendees who paid would be more serious customers. Sprague said several factors may affect LAGCO 2021, including a crowded industry exhibition schedule that will include OTC 2021, Houston's offshore industry trade show from August 16th to 21st. The OTC moved its annual event from spring to late summer because of COVID-19 concerns. That show has drawn as many as 50,000 people to downtown Houston. The Permian Basin International Oil Show, scheduled around LAGCO, is scheduled for October 19th through 21st in Odessa, Texas. If the LAGCO board moves ahead with an autumn exposition, Sprague said, it would likely be a shorter, perhaps a day or a day and a half, and smaller event than previous ones and may serve as a prelude to a new and different show in 2022. She said despite COVID-19 and most recently President Biden's expressed intentions about turning away from drilling with leases on federal lands, LAGCO remains relevant to the oil and gas industry in Louisiana. The organization is offering a 2021 Energy Leadership Program in March. Registration ends Monday and is hosting the 2021 LAGCO Invitational Golf Tournament on April 8th at the Golden Nugget Resort and Casino. The annual event was canceled in 2020 because of the pandemic. The annual clay shoot is also planned on an undetermined date. LAGCO has gone through numerous changes over the years. From an annual event to a biennial one, the organization added a full-time year-round staff in 1980 and has hosted numerous foreign delegations. Ben Berthelot, president and CEO of Lafayette Travel, said it was the Super Bowl of tourism events before it left for New Orleans. And moving on to state headlines for today. A study measures how much carbon wetlands can hold. Report to quantify benefits of coastal restoration might help price carbon credits. This story is by Haley Parker, a staff writer. Louisiana marshes are masters at capturing carbon from the air and locking it in the soil beneath the water's surface, where it won't disturb the atmosphere or the climate. They act as a huge carbon sink along the coast of the Gulf of Mexico, steadily accumulating more gas than they emit. That ability will become increasingly valuable as the state moves toward the carbon neutrality goals set last year by Governor John Bel Edwards. He has his eyes set on zero net emissions by 2050. A new study seeks to quantify just how much carbon is already sequestered by the state's coastal habitats and to develop a methodology for calculating the carbon benefits and costs of coastal restoration projects. There are several efforts nationally that are in a similar tint, but I do think this is a place where we can say we are the forefront of some of these attempts to try and provide these estimates, said Jim Paul, a senior coastal resources scientist with the Louisiana Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority. The Coastal Authority and Governor's Office of Coastal Activities have tapped scientists led by Melissa Boston, a coastal ecologist at the Water Institute of the Gulf, for a 10-month study. The group will pore over previous research on the carbon capture capability of Louisiana's marshes, including both its soil and vegetation. Of all the carbon buried in the soil of the coastal marshes in the 5 states along the Gulf of Mexico, Louisiana holds almost 2/3. The reason is twofold. Louisiana has far more wetlands than its Gulf neighbors, and its soil accumulates carbon at a faster rate. Researchers from across the Gulf will have the chance to advise the Louisiana Studies scientists on how past data should be interpreted. Funded by $300,000 from the Gulf Coast Ecosystem Restoration Council, the study's report will be shared across other Gulf states to use in their own carbon analysis of coastal projects. It will include projections of how the coast carbon sink capacity will change in 2025, 2030, and 2050, and show different scenarios based on whether restoration projects proposed in Louisiana's $50 billion 50-year master plan are realized. Given Louisiana's land loss crisis, the sink estimates will likely shrink alongside the state's footprint. In turn, Bastian hopes the findings will emphasize the dynamic role that wetlands play in mitigating against global warming, as well as their role in improving the quality and acting as a storm buffer. Quote, "We know that simply our area of wetlands is declining," she said. With the decline of those wetlands, we just simply don't have the plants and soil there anymore, and open water doesn't grab as much as those wetlands did. I think showing what those wetlands look like at 2050 and showing the reduced carbon sink of our coast will help people understand why protecting and restoring our coast is so important, end quote. The report also could lay the groundwork to create a carbon financing program which would encourage private investments in the state's ambitious wetland restoration goals. A 2015 study backed by Entergy suggested Louisiana could generate a $1.6 billion for coastal restoration by selling carbon credits. Quote, "We need to first understand how much carbon is in our habitats, and we need to make sure we can keep an eye on them," Bastian said. But from there, she said, methods exist to quantify how much carbon a restoration project could capture, thus providing a tool for pricing the credits. Because many companies are pledging to be carbon neutral, Bastian said, they have an eye on these public nature-based solutions. They really want to help invest in protecting our environment. And hey, maybe they can get the carbon credits in the future, end quote. And And just a reminder, you're listening to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate and the larger Advocate News Organization. You can subscribe to The Advocate at theadvocate.com and support local journalism in your community. We do encourage you to do that. Up next, we've got a little break from the headlines with our mid-show report on Today in History. And this is compiled by the Associated Press and printed in The Advocate. Today is Monday, February 22nd, the 53rd day of 2021. There are 312 days left in this year. Today's highlight in history. On February 22nd, 1980, the Miracle on Ice took place in Lake Placid, New York, as the United States Olympic hockey team upset the Soviets 4-3. The U.S. team went on to win the gold medal. On this date, in 1732, new style date, the first president of the United States, George Washington, was born in Westmoreland County in the Virginia colony. In 1889, President Grover Cleveland signed an enabling act paving the way for the Dakotas, Montana, and Washington to become states. On this date, in 1959, the inaugural Daytona 500 race was held. Although Johnny Beauchamp was initially declared the winner, the victory was later awarded to Lee Petty. In 1967, more than 25,000 U.S. and South Vietnamese troops launched Operation Junction City, aimed at smashing a Viet Cong stronghold near the Cambodian border. Although the communists were driven out, they later returned. In 1984, David Vetter, a 12-year-old Texas boy who'd spent most of his life in a plastic bubble because he had no immunity to disease, died 15 days after being removed from the bubble for a bone marrow transplant. In 1997, scientists in Scotland announced they had succeeded in cloning an adult mammal, producing a lamb named Dolly. Dolly, however, was later put down after a short life marred by premature aging and disease. In 2005, Buckingham Palace said Queen Elizabeth II would not attend the civil marriage ceremony of her son, Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles, but that her absence should not be interpreted as a snub. In 2010, Najibullah Zazi, accused of buying beauty supplies to make bombs for an attack on New York City subways, pleaded guilty to charges including conspiring to use weapons of mass destruction. Zazi faced up to life in prison but spent nearly a decade after his arrest helping the U.S. identify and prosecute terrorists. He was given a 10-year sentence, followed by a supervised release in 2019. In 2019, a California couple pleaded guilty to torture and years of abuse that included shackling some of their 13 children to beds and starving them. The couple would be sentenced to up to life in prison. 10 years ago, a defiant Muammar Gaddafi vowed to fight his last drop of blood and roared at supporters to strike back against Libyan protesters to defend his embattled regime. 5 years ago, President Barack Obama sent lawmakers an official $1.9 billion request to combat the spread of the Zika virus in Latin America and the U.S. Congress passed a $1.1 billion package in September 2016. 1 year ago, a dozen towns in northern Italy effectively went into lockdown after the deaths of 2 people infected with the coronavirus. South Korea reported an 8-fold jump in viral infections with more than 400 cases, mostly linked to a church and a hospital. And in today's celebrity birthdays, we have actor Paul Dooley is 93, actor James Hong is 92, actor John Ashton is 73, actor Miu Miu is 71, actor Julie Walters is 71, Basketball Hall of Famer Julius Erving is also 71. Actor Ellen Greene is 70. Former Senator Bill Frist, Republican of Tennessee, is 69. Former White House advisor David Axelrod is 66. Actor Kyle MacLachlan is 62. World Golf Hall of Famer Vijay Singh is 58. Actor-comedian Rachel Dratch is 55. Actor Paul Lieberstein is 54. Actor Jerry Ryan is 53. Actor Thomas Jane is 52. TV host Clinton Kelly is 52. Actor Tamara Mello is 51. Actor-singer Leah Salonga is 50. Actor Jose Solano is 50. International Tennis Hall of Famer Michael Chang is 49. Rock musician Scott Phillips is 48. Singer James Blunt is 47. Actor Drew Barrymore is 46. Actor Lisa Huber is 46. And finally, actor Zach Rohrig is 36. And up next, of course, we have our zodiac or horoscope, and it is for today. So here we go. Pisces, February 20th through March 20th birthdays. Make your space inviting. Move things around to suit your lifestyle. Share your feelings and plans with loved ones. Now's the time to make some dramatic self-improvements. Aries, born March 21st through April 19th. Don't let your emotions interfere when you're making an important decision. Stay calm, use discipline, and verify facts before you take action. Taurus, April 20th through May 20th. Work in your best interest instead of trying to impress or please someone. Push your ideas and vision and invest time and effort into pursuing what makes you happy. Gemini, born May 21st through June 20th. If you recognize what's possible, success will follow. Let go of negativity and let your innovative ideas set new trends. Make romance and love priorities. And work to end discord. Cancer, June 21st through July 22nd birthdays. An open mind will encourage you to try something new. Express your thoughts and feelings. Share something special with someone who can contribute to your plans. Leos, born July 23rd through August 22nd. Stay on course, look for the right opportunity, and put everything into your objective. If you take on too much, you will fall short of your goal. Bring about change and persuade others to follow suit. Virgos, August 23rd through September 22nd. Information, education, and communication will lead to positive changes. Focus on what you have to offer. Don't be afraid to make the first move. Keeping up with trends will help you find success. Libra, September 23rd through October 23rd. Don't let an unexpected change bring you down. Take advantage of any opportunity that comes your way and get things done without compromising your financial status or your health. Scorpio, October 24th through November 22nd birthdays. Don't let uncertainty or confusion lead to your downfall. Look at the possibilities and use your skills to bring about the changes that will make your life better. Put an end to bad relationships. Our Sagittarius, November 23rd through December 21st birthdays. Settle into something you do well or love to do. Opening up to a loved one will help you make decisions that add to your comfort and well-being. Don't let others make decisions for you. Capricorns, December 22nd through January 19th. Consider how you earn and handle your money and make changes that will stabilize your future. Look at what's trending and how you can take advantage of an opportunity. And lastly, Aquarius, born January 20th through February 19th. Weigh the pros and cons of every situation you face. Be careful when dealing with peers, relatives, and people who work for institutions. Choose your words carefully. And the horoscope is, of course, an entertainment feature. It's not based on scientific fact. Continuing on with state news this morning, our next headline is Crawfish Chill. Experts predict how temperatures will affect catches for the rest of the season. Stories by Adam Daigle, the Acadiana business editor for The Advocate. Crawfish, much like people, have not taken well to the cold weather blanketing the state. But even if the ponds they call home become frigid or even iced over, that merely caused them to burrow down into their mud and stay there until it gets warmer, farmers and experts say. The 2021 crawfish season, a year removed from a down season for many farmers across Louisiana due to the coronavirus pandemic, is off to somewhat of a slow start due to weather and other factors. Prices are higher than usual this time of year, and size of the mud bugs has been smaller. A week of freezing temperatures, however, did not help. It's been too cold where we're not able to get into the fields, Vermilion Parish farmer Alan McLean said. It's slowing the catch down more than what the catch was already. The catch was already slowed down by weather. It's just pushing us back and missing a few larger crawfish selling days, he said. Dane Hebert, a past president of the Louisiana Crawfish Farmers Association, said there have been some decent hauls at his roughly 300-acre farming operation in North Vermilion Parish this week due to cages that were set before the winter storm, but freshly baited cages have yielded little to no return. The timing is unfortunate because the catch was improving just before the winter weather after a slow start to the season. Quote, "It's just too damn cold," he said. Quote, "It's kind of like you and me, they just don't move much. It's going to knock back the catch significantly for a few days until the water temperature warms back up again." End quote. Warmer temperatures are expected at the start of the week, with highs getting back into the 60s by Tuesday, so the crawfish catch is slowly expected to return. The good thing is that the crawfish emerge from the mud they will eat and grow larger. Quote, "This is delaying the harvest by a week or two, but the crawfish will be caught," said Mark Shirley, an Abbeville-based crawfish specialist with the LSU Ag Center. "This is upsetting our crawfish boil schedule, but tail meat is available. I would encourage everyone who wants to enjoy crawfish to make a big pot of etouffee." Lainey King, who created the Crawfish app, which tracks prices for live and boiled crawfish, said so far this season prices have been higher and the crustaceans have been smaller than they were last year. On the first Friday of Lent in 2020, which was February 28, a pound of live crawfish generally sold for just under $3 a pound or $90 for a sack. Now they cost about $4 a pound or $120 for a sack. Lent, which began Wednesday, generally marks the start of crawfish season, and with crawfish boils becoming a regular occurrence. After last year, she said people are craving crawfish more than ever. Quote, "The first Friday of Lent is almost as big as Easter and Mother's Day," King said. "This is a crucial week, and it's not good for the industry to start off like this. Mother Nature is not cooperating." Griffin Dorr of C&J Farms near Crowley said he's worried the price could get high enough where customers won't buy crawfish. Prices he's seen so far are about $3.50 per pound. Quote, "Hopefully after all of this is over, we can get back on track and look forward to the future of the season," he said. Even before the freezing weather, the crawfish crop had been hampered by an ill-timed November cold snap, which slowed growth, said Greg Lutz, an LSU Ag Center crawfish specialist. The cold-blooded creatures can handle water temperatures that are near freezing, and colder water is saturated with oxygen, which allows them to simply wait for the water to warm. The real problem, he said, is what the freeze has done to the vegetation in crawfish ponds. Crawfish feed on little bits and pieces of stems and leaves. A hard freeze causes the plants to break down faster, meaning that there may not be food left later in the season. Lutz said there aren't any reliable, cost-effective ways of feeding crawfish outside of the natural vegetation found in flooded rice field or leaves dumped into a pond in the fall. So if the food supply runs out before the season ends, crawfish may stop growing and just go down in the ground earlier. The temperatures have also slowed down deliveries of crawfish to the buyers. McLean said he just shut down everything last week since buyers opted to stay put and not put a driver on the road during the icy conditions. Quote, "We still have time to recoup, but it gets shorter, Hebert said. The time for us to be profitable, that window gets shorter because of this event. I'm still optimistic that we can still have a decent season and hope we can provide the public with a quality product. Staff writers Timothy Boone and Katie Gagliano contributed to this report. And our final state headline of the day is Baton Rouge native representing cancer survivor set for civilian spaceflight. The story's by George Morris. Since her childhood cancer diagnosis, Baton Rouge native Haley Arsenault has been a spokesperson for how St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital saved her life and countless others. Now, she'll take her story to the ultimate platform, outer space. Arsenault has been chosen to be part of the first all-civilian spaceflight named Inspiration 4. On the history-making flight, the 29-year-old will set lots of other records: the first American civilian woman in space, the first person with an artificial joint, the first cancer survivor, and she believes the first Cajun. Quote, "What an incredible honor this is for me to represent cancer survivors in this way," Arsenault said. "Until now, astronauts have been physically perfect. This mission is changing the mindset of what an astronaut has to look like. Not only is it going to mean so much to the kids that to know that all of the people that are donating are helping them, but also being able to see a survivor in space." Arsenault and 3 others who have never been in space will be launched on SpaceX's 2-stage Falcon 9 rocket from the Kennedy Space Center and orbit Earth for about 3 days before a water landing off the Florida coast. The date is yet to be determined, but could come as early as October. Quote, "I just can't think of a better brand ambassador representing St. Jude and representing the spirit of hope on this mission than Haley," said Jared Isaacman, who arranged and will command the voyage. This mission is the brainchild of Isaacman, the 37-year-old founder and CEO of Shift4 Payments, a payments processing company. The billionaire also is a commercial and military-rated jet pilot, and in 2008 and 2009, he flew speed around the world flights that raised money and awareness for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. This time, it's to benefit St. Jude. Isaacman, who purchased the flight from SpaceX for an undisclosed sum, has already donated half of the $200 million fundraising goal to St. Jude, which performs cancer research and offers medical services at no charge to patients. He offered two of the 3 other seats to a frontline worker, Arsenault, and to a St. Jude donor. For a chance to join Arsenault and Isaacman, donate through the Inspiration4.com donate portal in February. The last seat will go to a yet-to-be-chosen entrepreneur. Quote, "I just know how lucky I've been in life," said Isaacman, who has no childhood cancers in his family. Quote, "Some don't get a chance to grow up and experience anything like what I've been fortunate to experience, and that bothers me. That's a big problem, and I feel like we need to do something about it." Arsenault was one of those children cured at St. Jude in Memphis, Tennessee, where she now works as a physician assistant helping patients with leukemia and lymphoma. She said she has learned about the space mission in December from officials with the hospital's fundraising organization. Quote, "They asked if I wanted to be on board, and I was shocked, but immediately said, yes, please." And Arsenault, who then called her mother and broke the news. Quote, she said, "You cannot pass this up. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity," Arsenault recalled. The daughter of Colleen and the late Howard Arsenault, she grew up in St. Francisville and was 10 years old when she was diagnosed in 2002 with osteosarcoma in her left femur just above the knee. Her treatment at St. Jude included chemotherapy and then breakthrough surgery in which most of her femur was removed and replaced with a prosthetic device that could expand without more surgery as she grew. While at St. Jude, Arsenault became an ambassador for the organization, telling her story to raise funds and awareness for the research hospital. She returned to the hospital for continuing care and became a summer intern in the pediatric oncology education program in 2013 before becoming a physician assistant, which she calls her dream job. Arsenault said she's had no second thoughts since agreeing to the trip. Quote, "There's nothing they could have told me that would have kept me from going," she said. "I realized how monumental it was, but also what a big honor it was, and what an incredible honor this is for St. Jude." Arsenault has spent time with Isaacman twice at SpaceX headquarters in California going over plans for the mission. SpaceX will guide the mission from the ground, but Isaacman will be in charge should the spacecraft need to be controlled while in space. Quote, "He's making safety his number one priority," Arsenault said. "He's just such a natural commander and leader. He was born to command a mission in space. I just completely trust him." Training will begin in earnest once the final 2 astronauts are chosen, Arsenault said. During the mission, Arsenault said she expects to contact her parents from space, providing them with a vivid example that cancer doesn't mean they can't have a great future. We want to remind everyone that Arch of Acadiana is seeking donations to help house our neighbors. Due to COVID-19 and concerns for community spread, there has been dramatic decrease in available shelter beds. That means many experiencing homelessness have no other option than to sleep on the street. Throughout this pandemic, Acadiana Regional Coalition on Homelessness and Housing has been able to utilize local hotel and motel rooms as a temporary housing solution. From there, case managers help our fellow Acadians transition to permanent housing. Arch is very proud of their success in keeping those they serve safe from COVID-19 and on their way to long-term stability. However, the number of homeless is growing, and Arch needs your help to get our neighbors out of the cold and into warm, safe housing. Can you help today? If so, go to archacadiana.org, that's archacadiana.org. If you would prefer to give by check, please mail to Arch, P.O. Box 3936, Lafayette, Louisiana, 70502. And our final item of news for the day will be from the sports section. And that headline is, UL Baseball opens season with road series win. Every game versus Tulane went into extra innings. This is a staff report coming to us from New Orleans. In a weekend filled with comebacks and dramatic moments, the UL Ragin' Cajuns began the 2021 season with an impressive series win over Tulane with a 9-7 win in 12 innings on Sunday. Ben Fitzgerald delivered a pinch-hit solo home run to left with one out in the 12th, and Brennan Breaux came off the bench with an RBI double later in the decisive inning for a 2-run cushion. All 3 games in the weekend series went to extra innings, with the Green Wave claiming the comeback win Friday and UL responding with one of its own Saturday. What do that call that an instant classic? said UL coach Matt Deggs of the series. It was two teams that wouldn't budge. It was two stubborn ball clubs that were intense. It had a super regional feel to it. Both teams played like there was a lot on the line, which is pretty impressive for opening weekend, end quote. Jack Burke was the workhorse pitcher later in Sunday's marathon game, pitching the final 5 innings. The Jesuit of New Orleans product allowed 3 runs, 2 earned, 9 hits, walked none, and struck out 2 to get the win. Quote, "What can you say about that guy?" Deggs said of Burke. Quote, "After everything he's been through here, as long as he's been here, and what he's meant to this program all through that time, he was going to go 200 pitches if he had to, and I told him that. This was his game." UTA's win, and UL's Malik Wilson scored 25 with 16 rebounds in the Cajuns' win. "We have to defend the 3, Marlin said. We've got to definitely make sure we defend their guards. In 3 of UL's league losses, the opposition made 11-pointers. We've got to know where they're at all times, be ready to challenge that 3-point shot without letting them get a clear lane to the basket," UL Director of Operations Mike Murphy said. "That's going to be a challenge. If we do that, we'll be good defensively." On the offensive end, it's about offense running through the 6'10 center Theo Akuba. "Offensively, we've got to be good with our shot selection," Murphy said. "Let the offense come to you, work inside out. Theo has got to get touches. He had 20 touches against Monroe in the second game. That's what made the difference." Quote, "And be prepared to shoot it, feet set, hands ready, when he kicks the ball out." The other issue these days for Cajuns is the loss of point guard Brian Au for the rest of the season to knee surgery. The first game without Au didn't go well in the home loss to ULM. The second one went great with a blowout win over ULM. Marlin said the team was prepared without Au in the first ULM game, but didn't execute. Freshman guard Ty Harper kicked it into high gear with 19 points in the rematch. "Harper can use a ball screen and get that thing headed downhill better than anybody we've got on the team," Murphy said of Harper. Quote, "He's very, very athletic. He can dunk the thing with his elbows, so he can really break you down on the dribble off a ball screen. The game has sped up in your mind, so it's a matter of being able to slow it down as you get to a better level. He's starting to learn how to do that. That comes with experience. You really can't teach it." The other encouraging aspect of the ULM win was senior guard Cedric Russell not playing in the final 8 minutes and taking a scoring backseat with only 6 points. "For us to win without him was big for our team because they got confidence in themselves and we won't have to rely on him as much," Marlin said. Monday's game could also be the return of 2 key performers, UL's Kobe Julian and UTA's David Azor. Julian's been out all season long, while Azor has been out since the start of the conference season. Losing a week to the cold might have given him more time to be ready. We want to thank you for tuning in. This has been Local News Live for February 22nd, 2021. I've been your reader, Matt Roberts. You can join us at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday on AOC 1, Cypress Street Radio, or AOC Community Media on YouTube. You can read these stories and more at theadvocate.com. Find out how to volunteer and more at aocinc.org. And while you're there at aocinc.org, I encourage you to check out AOC's new podcast concerning media literacy. It's called Mind on Media. And we will be putting together, having conversations about media literacy, about, different ways that you can interpret your media and know whether your media is trustworthy or not. There are tools, believe it or not. It's not all just confusion and scariness in the land of media, even though sometimes it seems that way. So join us for Mind on Media. We release new episodes every Tuesday, and we've got a few episodes up already. Mind on Media from AOC Community Media. All right, I've been your reader, Matt Roberts. It is February 22nd, 2021. This has been Local News Live. Thanks to The Advocate. Go check out theadvocate.com to get local news reporting. And everyone have a great day. Stay safe. Stay warm.